Well, hello, 420 MSP community. Harry Brailsford here on the road, on the journey to finding the best opportunities for MSPs in 2019, 2020, and beyond. And today we're with Steve Church of Cobalt Computer Services. Sir, where are you located?
We're down in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And that's what, about a gentleman's hour, maybe 90 minutes of traffic south of Portland. Is that about right?
That's a good guess if you're not seeing that typical slowdown about midway through where you can park and have a sandwich on the interstate.
There we go. So Cobalt Computer Services, quickly, tell us about your company, how old the company is, any niches, and then we want to talk about the cannabis vertical in particular.
Okay, so Cobalt is 11 years old as of April. We're a small business like everybody else and support small businesses. Our category usually is the under 15 user platform. That seems to be our bread and butter, where people really enjoy IT instead of actually doing it themselves. The unique thing we do, we show up and do our job. I don't know why that's such a hard thing in the IT world and the SMB world, but that seems to be the one thing we consistently hear is we show up, do the job, and make sure it's finished. And that's the repetitive thing we've heard for the last 11 years.
There we go. Well, part of what I'm trying to articulate currently with the MSP community is to invest forward. So we typically don't invest backwards, and investing forward to me means looking at verticals with net positive growth and so on. Now, you have been in the cannabis sector before my book for some time. So why don't you tell us your experience? I believe you have a handful of clients in this vertical market.
Yes, we have about four to five clients. Some of them adventure into more than just being a dispensary, a farm, or what I'd call an extractor. We started with one that was one of the first medical marijuana dispensaries in our area, helped them through being that true small customer that goes and buys the big box store devices, and then moved into actually listening to us and wanting to go to a server platform, some backups, and move from the tried and true, what I like to call small business customer that goes and puts everything on wireless, nothing is stable, and then we transition them to a wired network, go from spinning hard drives to solid states, and then try to navigate through how to help them get cloud services that didn't compromise prior to us becoming recreationally legal, didn't compromise any of their business information, as in going out of state to other states that didn't have regulatory things in place to where they could be either prosecuted or get in trouble for utilizing something out of state that didn't have regulations in place. Similarly, that they had problems like with the banking system, and then for a while here they were an all cash business because they couldn't put money in the bank because of FDIC, and there's a lot of past things that have somewhat moved forward, which are quite helpful.
No, that's interesting that you're picking up on the regulatory compliance and business nuances, because that's part of what I'm trying to do here at the 420 MSPs. Is it's not all about the TCP/IP protocol, right? It's a much bigger story. With that said, would you say that the four some odd customers you have in the cannabis vertical, are they just like any other business at the end of the day?
Yeah, in general, they're no different than any other business, whether it's a dispensary, a farm, or somebody who does the extraction process to make whatever product they're after. They're really no different. I mean, it's no different than comparing an insurance office to a medical office. They all have the same stuff when you break it down.
Right.
They're all the same. They have computers, servers, routers, switches, wireless, the crazy Sonos speaker here and there that's got to work. And then they've got their own proprietary, for lack of a better term, CRM that they use, or version of QuickBooks they use, that tracks their product and makes it to where they fall within the regulations of the state. And that's really the only big nuance difference. Is if you compare like a medical office that's got HIPAA compliance, or a financial advisor that's got its own set of headaches of compliances, these guys just have a different compliance that isn't a pretty word yet to us, and we just have to make sure that we do our due diligence.
Yep. A phrase I borrowed in full disclosure, a CFO firm out of Bend, Oregon, has taken a leadership position in training bookkeepers and accountants nationally on the nuances of the cannabis vertical, reporting requirements, accounting, etc. And they came up with the phrase that I've co-opted, loosely translated, it's work for people, work with people you like, and get paid what you're worth. Has that been your experience in the cannabis sector? Do you like working with these people, and do they pay their bill?
They do pay their bill. They sometimes like to pay you in cash, which is a little different nuance for some of us that are, credit card or check pay. So you do sometimes have to just go to them and then go to the bank, and then the bank kind of asks you why the money smells funny, but it's just, sometimes how the trade comes through, and we just, take it with a grain of salt and continue on down the path. These people do pay their bills. They do need some hand holding, because they are sometimes people that have transitioned from doing it themselves to where they do need some help to figure out how to make things flow, because they're used to a cash pay business, because most of the vendors they buy from, if they are a shop, they're cash pay on the spot. So it does take a little bit of getting used to each other, and most of these people are everyday people. I mean, you would be surprised, some of the people you meet that own these shops or own the farms, and they're great people. You just have to, like every other client, get used to their quirks, and they have to get used to yours.
Well, there you go. And the final question would be for this segment. And by the way, let's check in down the road again, see how it's going. But final question almost relates to that. Do you want to grow more in this vertical? And in the additional clients you picked up, was it by referral? How did you get client number 2, 3, and 4?
Well, client 1 actually became client 2 and 3 because they turned into a multifaceted place, and then client 4 actually was the next door neighbor of client 1, 2, and 3. So it was client 4 was what I call a supplemental business to the first one, because they ended up actually selling fertilizer and light bulbs and the rest of the things that are unique to that field. They happen to actually sell, and then they also grew themselves separately. And then I picked up a dispensary / farm, mainly through word of mouth referral. That was, they got themselves in a sticky spot to where they had a device fail. And in our state, when a device fails that holds their security camera footage, whether it really fails or it's the planned parity drive that fails in a NAS, you still have to write a letter saying, here's what the problem was, here's what we did to resolve it, here is the possibility of a gap in their security footage and or data and or recording, depending on which device failed. And they actually called, reached out, and were referred by client 1, and then actually by another IT firm in town that just doesn't work with cannabis. So they referred them over to us and said, hey, maybe these guys will help you. And really, I have no problem working with this field, because they're, like every other day people. I mean, you just treat them like a normal customer and play within their regulatory needs, and it's no big deal.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, my friend. Well, thanks for your time. And again, we're go enjoy some of the summer holidays, and we're going to check back in with you. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Sounds good.